I talked to you a little bit about this whole idea of love well by doing good, which is the whole idea of like focusing on purpose. Not that profit's not important, because it really is, because it takes money to create, to be able to accomplish great purpose. It always takes resources, right? And the way that you show up, like in the community, or like I will, put a bunch of questions in, you'll answer me, you're giving a lot away already, in terms of what you're doing that you could be charging for. And I'm super grateful to be in this community early on, to be able to get to know you and to get to help build this with you. I mean, it's always my passion is to promote people that I love what they're doing. What else is that about for you? Do you have like another purpose in mind in growing this, like something you'd like to invest in? Or, I mean, you're doing so much with, just individual public, people in the public, but also this idea of trainers. But is there anything beyond that you'd love to create, like kind of a legacy piece?
There is, and so there's a couple of different things. So a big why for me in even the online group has been helping people understand what the connection is to their own emotional capacity and their ability to work with their dog. So there's a big connection piece there of a person's where they're at and how they interact with the public and how they interact with their family and how they view themselves and treat themselves and how they treat their dog. All of those things are connected. And people don't seem to realize that. And it was maybe, 3-4 weeks ago, we had a woman in the group who posted this long post in the group about how the things that she had learned in the group had done more for her than what 15 years of therapy couldn't do. And what it boiled down to was me helping her understand her own ability and own authority to create boundaries with another animal. And what she realized is that her people-pleasing nature had moved into her relationship with her dogs. And she felt like she had to do everything to her dog all the time to please her dog. And it became this trap in the relationship, and it disabled the dog's ability to live properly. Then she started, because she's a very intuitive woman. And so then she started extrapolating it out, going, wait a minute, this is the same thing I do with people. I let people walk all over me because I always want to be their friend. I always want to be the friend, the person. And so those self-realizations of creating boundaries with people and creating boundaries with your dog is the same concept. And all that stuff crosses over. And so for me, when she wrote that, it was a long excerpt about it. And I responded to that going, if nothing else ever came out of this group, that was worth it for me. Because seeing people realize for themselves how to change their interactions, like that will change how she interacts with people and animals for the rest of her life. It'll never be the same. Right? So that realization will change everything for her. And so for me, the legacy piece is a couple of things. I really feel like my legacy piece is going to be on the business end. Because little background on me, my parents were entrepreneurs. So my dad wasn't. My dad originally worked in corporate America. He had a big gig. He was the senior vice president of sales and marketing for Capgemini Ernst & Young for years. Big financial firm. And so that was when we lived in Dallas, and he traveled almost my entire childhood. I remember dropping him off at the airport every Monday morning at 6 a.m. and picking him up every Saturday. And so he was in the corporate world, and my mom was very much an entrepreneurial spirit. And my sister did gymnastics as a child, and my mom was like, I think there's room to do this better. So she opened a gymnastics center in Texas. My parents grew that. She grew that. They then built a multi-million-dollar facility and brought my dad home from his consulting gig, and he worked in the business with her. And then when 2008 hit, and we had the big real estate and business crash in 2008, their business never recovered. They ended up filing bankruptcy and ended up losing their business. And they had everything tied up into it. Their retirement was tied up into it. Everything my dad had made in his career was tied up into it. And so they moved back home where they were from, which was Arkansas, to start taking care of their parents, and have since worked in multiple ministries. Both my parents worked in ministry full time. And so they worked in multiple ministries. My dad was on the strategic side. So he worked with large medical ministries down in Central America, Honduras and Guatemala and places like that, helping them organize their finances and their technology side and things like that. And my mom was more person-to-person work. And so, but they did that. And my parents are both, well, my mom is not quite 70. My dad is 70 now. And they have just retired last year from ministry work because after losing everything in their business back in 2010, they had to rebuild everything. And so rebuild some sort of retirement and the whole thing ever since then. So for me, small business holds a very near and dear place to my heart. And outside of the dog training world, once I establish a path of success with helping dog trainers grow their businesses, I would love to be able to create or start a nonprofit that helps young entrepreneurs figure out how to build businesses that matter, not just from the standpoint of something that they love, but what can they actually do with it? What is scalable? What can they actually build a career for their family on, right? Because it's great if you want to start a food truck, but do you live in an area where a food truck is a viable business for you? If not, what could you do instead? Could you take that skill of that particular food and could you teach that skill? And could you monetize the teaching of that skill? And so helping people figure out how to build those businesses. A great example is my sister. I love my sister to death. She's 18 months younger than I am. And she is very knowledgeable in the gymnastics field. She has four kids, five kids, four kids. She has four kids. And so I had to name them off real quick just to make sure.
You gave her an extra one.
Yeah, I had to name them off there just to make sure I gave her an extra one for a second. But she works. My sister works in ministry full time. She's a pastor in Arkansas, and so she worked in ministry full time, and she was a worship pastor as well. So she preached and she did the worship music, and she recently had to have vocal cord surgery. So she actually can't even talk. She was put on complete vocal rest for a period of time. And so her career of working at this church and having a salary position at this church is gone now. And she has skill sets in things like helping develop gymnastics education programs and coaching development and things like that. And so when I was there over Thanksgiving, I was talking to her about how do you create a way to start monetizing your knowledge, right? Because this is something you could build, not have to work a massive amount of hours, still have time for homeschooling your kids and your four kids, and keep all that stuff straight. And ultimately what I find is that people aren't able to think outside of the box enough in business to really realize what the potential is. She was thinking, well, then I got to go to a gymnastics center and I got to get on their staff and help them build it. And I'm like, well, you don't really have to. There's multiple different ways to go about doing this. So at some point I would like to get to that point where I'm helping people take their passions and take their ideas and figure out how to monetize that. Because there's nothing that's been more exciting and more fulfilling for me in my life than finding my passion and figuring out how to make a living from it, and figuring out how to tie that into my family and have time with my family. And that stuff is so stinking important to me. And we live in a day and age where the ability to make a living and make income is almost as wild as your imagination is. I mean, anybody can do it with the right strategy, and I'm good at strategy, and that's what I would like to help give to people is how can I help you take what you want to do and figure out how to make something from it. And so, so that's kind of, I think, the legacy piece for me is, I want to get my family financially to a point with the other businesses and helping dog trainers where I can just devote time to that. And I can just kind of help people build something for themselves. And because it's fun. For me, business is a game. I view business as a game. And so it's fun for me. I enjoy it. It's competitive. It's entertaining. It's strategic. And, I lay in bed at night thinking, man, what could I do differently? How could I run a different ad set? How could I grab a different level of attention from a different buyer? And so I think that's kind of the ultimate play for me is where I want to go.
That's cool. What was I going to ask you? Do you see in building this business to help or consult trainers, do you think you'll take this same approach with possibly an online group community you build versus just one-to-one? I mean, I would encourage you to, but I just wondered
Yeah.
if you'd already thought
Yes.
about that.
Yeah, that's kind of the route that I plan to go, and I'll probably use a probably the same platform I'm using because it's a really well designed platform for that purpose. And
Mhm.
so I will probably use the same platform for that, and then I will offer people different levels of service, right? So I'll provide a large, broad scope of service that for the person that really wants to dig in and learn it and dive deep, they can get everything they need to out of it. And part of my teaching philosophy or my philosophy in business is like tier levels in business, right? Once you begin to have enough money that your time is more valuable than your resources, you need to apply resources to your growth structure. In the beginning, you need to apply time to your growth structure.
Right.
And so my goal is to have that natural progression within that group where people can start at the base level, they can have access to all the information, they can pour their time, their heart, their energy into it. Then once they reach the next level, I can come and help them and help build out software systems and automation systems and CRMs and help them on a hands-on level. And so, yeah, that's kind of my goal, is to do it in a community-based format as well, because I've just been really enthralled by the way the community operates
Mhm.
and how organically the community started forming, and how it just kind of taken on a life of its own, which is really stinking cool. It's really neat to see people, not just me being the connection point, but people connecting.
Mhm.
And that's very encouraging for me. And
Mhm.
so,
I see group. I mean, there's a lot you can do one-to-one, but when people get in a group and you can work with people in a group, there's this exponential piece that happens because we're all giving ideas, we're all learning, we're all contributing and collaborating. And and I find that exciting. So I'm glad you're going to do that.
yes,
So
for sure.
as we kind of wind up, I'd love to have you back.
Cool. I love that.
Um, what do you want to leave us with today?
That's a good question. What do I want to leave you with today? I'd say probably the biggest thing I run across that I wish people could figure out how to process through, is that there is something better on the other side. Like, it's not the grass is greener mentality, but it's understanding that as human beings, we are called to and meant for more than we probably will ever realize. Like, our capacity to be successful in business and life and relationships and emotionally is probably far greater than what we even realize we're capable of. And so I run into so much on a daily basis with both dog training and with both business owners. I run into so much what feels like the end of the rope. It feels like the person doesn't see any way forward, like they can't see the forest through the trees. It's done, or they feel like it's game over. And so a lot of my time is spent with dog owners going, hey, just take a breath. Like, let's just stop for a second. Let's stop and think. And, I had a conversation with a woman yesterday, and very, very cool lady. She's bringing me her dog in 2 weeks. She has a very unique life story. She lives full time out of a van, and she is an artist, a full time artist. And she travels around the country going to Renaissance festivals.
Hmm.
And she's a sculptor, and she makes these little figurines that she sells at Renaissance festivals. And I was asking her about her story when I was on the phone with her yesterday. And her mom was a full time artist, and she's an artist, and her daughter is a tattoo artist. And she just finally found her tribe of people. And she feels like those are her people, and they like the things that she likes. And so she lives full time out of her van. Well, when she called me last week, she has a pug named Simon. And Simon is so reactive to other dogs that she can't live her life with this dog,
Hmm.
because at the Renaissance festivals, there's dogs everywhere. And she was like, he's so reactive, I just can't live my life, and I'm just at my wit's end, and I think I'm going to have to give him up, and I think I'm going to have to send him to a rescue. And so I talked to her for a while, and I was like, hey, like, this is a fixable thing. We can solve this problem, I promise. She's like, I know, but I've worked with 5 other trainers, and they couldn't fix it. I'm like, I understand that. We're not all created equal. I do things very differently, and I will help you through this. And so we talked for a while, and then I get a message from her last night. And the message was, I don't know if I can do this if you're going to tell me my dog can't sleep in my bed. And I said, well, let's back up a minute here, because remember what we were talking about was either the dog goes away forever or you fix this problem. Is sleeping in your bed really a requirement, or would you rather have your dog with you? And people just get into this frame of mind where there's only two answers, right? Either my dog has to go away or has to be put to sleep. Like, those are the only two answers. And that happens in the dog world, and that happens in business, and that happens in life, where people get tunnel vision and they go, this is the only possibility. This is the only way forward. The only way I can make a living is by going and working at the factory in my town. Well, it's not. There are other ways. And so for me, I think that's the biggest encouraging piece I want to leave people with, because I spent my whole life up until I was 37 years old, thinking that if I could just figure out how to make $100,000 a year, life would be okay. That was the goal, right? I wanted to hit that 8 to 10K a month. Man, if I can just do that, life will be golden. And then I figured out how to do that. And then I figured out how to do it in multiples, and then in multiples after that. And I look back at that time and I go, man, I had no clue what the options were, what the potential was. I was so sucked into such a small way of thinking that I had no clue that there was anything else out there. I couldn't wrap my head around it. And that's my biggest encouragement to people, is the possibility that is out there is so much bigger than what anybody thinks it can be. Your possibility for your relationship with your dog is so much bigger than what you think it can be. Your possibility for your relationship in your marriage is so much bigger than what you think it can be. Your possibility in your profession and your career and your ability to make a living for yourself is far bigger than what you think it can be. And we are our biggest limitation. And once we figure that out, and once we break those thresholds, I had a marketer very early in my dog training career, and he said, you need to price your program at $3,500. And I said, well, I'm already selling a program that's $5,000. And he goes, well, you can't sell a $5,000 program over the phone. And I do it every day. And he goes, okay. And this was the changing point for me. This guy who has this big multi-million-dollar marketing company, he goes, dang, maybe that's my own limiting belief. And he said that out loud to me on the phone, and that just registered to me. I was like, oh, if we can recognize that, like if we have the ability to look inwards and go, maybe I'm limiting that, it's such a huge deal. Such a huge deal. So that's my biggest encouragement to people that I want to leave people with. Your possibility for more is probably bigger than you can imagine.
That's awesome. Tell us a little bit about if somebody wanted to send a dog to you, or a trainer wanted to get in touch with you to talk about this possibility you want to create for trainers. So just tell us a little bit about that and how we can reach you. And we'll put that information, in the podcast notes as well.
Awesome. Cool. Pretty easy to reach on all the socials. So whether it's Facebook, Instagram, or TikTok, I'm at Agoge K9. And spelled just like it is on the screen here, AGOGE, letter K, number 9. You can reach me personally by email if you want, which is brian@agogek9llc.com. So it's just a company name, llc.com. And so those are the easiest ways to reach me. You can shoot me a text message, or you can shoot me an email, or send me a message on any of the social platforms. I'm very responsive to that stuff. I actually met with a marketing consulting agency earlier this week, and he was like, dude, you respond to every comment on your ads. I said, yes, I do. Every single one, all 290 of them on there I have responded to on a paid advertisement, not even somebody interacting with my page. And it's because I believe communication is valuable. And so I will respond. If you send me a message, I will respond. I will get back with you. And so that's the easiest way to reach out to me. If you have a dog and you're out of state, just reach out to me and we'll kind of talk through what that looks like and logistics, and whether online is the best bet for you, or whether having the dog come to me is the best bet. And so hopefully in 2026, I plan to do a little bit of traveling and training, and doing some training with people in different areas of the country. And so that might be worth, if we've got a few people in a specific area that want to work together, it might be worth scheduling something like that. So don't hesitate to reach out. There's lots of options. I've always been known for helping people over the phone far more than I need to. So I'm glad to have a conversation. If something's going on with your dog and you're just like, man, I don't think I can afford anything right now, put a message into me anyway. right? I'll have a conversation with you. It doesn't cost me anything to talk to you for 30 minutes and see if I can help. And so, yeah, just reach out. I love chatting with people, and I love meeting people all over the country. This has been pretty cool because we met through the group.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and that's how our relationship started. Is you were like, I don't even know if this is legit or not, and so you shot me a message, and I was like, let's jump on a phone call.
Right. And I'm like, seriously? Okay.
Nobody does that, yeah. And so, but no, this is awesome, and I love meeting people. I have friends from every corner of the country. One of my best friends and a great dog trainer lives right down the road from you, Sandy, and so he's a good dude. I love that guy to death. He and his wife are gold. And so, yeah, I've got friends all over the country, and you know, I've got a trainer friend of mine out in San Diego, and I sent her 2 or 3 people out of the group so far. When they needed somebody local, I just plugged them right in with her. I don't know people in every city, but I know quite a few trainers around the country, and if I can plug in and help them, I do. And so,
That's awesome.
yeah.
Well, I'm happy to host something here. I
Yeah, I'd
have
love to.
been known in the past for horse workshops and different kinds of things. I love gathering people that are passionate about the same thing. So count me in if you want to come to Colorado. I know you have someone here, but I'm about an hour away. So
Yeah.
we could hit the Denver and Colorado Springs market.
Cool.
Find a place. It'd be really fun to meet you face to face and also be able to perpetuate what you're doing. Because I think everybody should have dogs. Everybody should have 2 horses in their backyard. You know, everyone really should have Old McDonald's farm if they can, because animals are some of our greatest teachers. They're so great at teaching us how to be better people, you know, how to be better humans. And so I really appreciate that you are loving well by doing good in all those ways. And just want to remind the audience to ask yourself the question every day, you know, what does it look like? Like if you really say you love people, then it's going to look like something. And so what does love well by doing good look like today or this week or this month? And you know, I want to hear from you, and you can find me all over social media or sandy@thecorrigangroup.com. And I stick my cell phone on everything. So let me know what you're doing and how you're doing that in the world. And Brian, thank you so much. This was a lot of time for a very busy guy. Really appreciate you in so many ways. I'm so happy I get to be in relationship with you and the community, and whatever I can do to help perpetuate what you're doing, I want to do. So thank you so much.
Love that. It was a pleasure, Sandy. This was so fun.